I'm now honored to introduce the next award winner, Professor Suresh Sethi. This is a really special award this evening, not only because it's going to somebody who has dedicated his career to achievement, and you'll hear more about that in a second, but also because he is the first recipient who is a Ph.D., and he's given so much back to the Ph.D. community. Dr. Sethi is the Eugene McDermott Professor of Operations Management and is the director of the Center for Intelligent Supply Networks at the University of Texas in Dallas. Professor Sethi's achievements are extensive. His resume is literally 42 pages long, but I will do my best to summarize. He received his undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology in Bombay. He received an MBA from Washington State University in 1969. Furthering his studies in operations research, Professor Sethi earned a master's in industrial administration in 1971 and a Ph.D. in 1972 from the Graduate School of Industrial Administration, now the Tepper School, of course. Professor George Lightman at the University of California, Berkeley said, Suresh Sethi has made fundamental contributions in a number of different fields, including management, economics, engineering, and applied mathematics. His doctoral thesis became the basis for the now classic text that introduced optimal control theory to business schools when it was still a new concept. In all, Professor Sethi's contributions are published in nearly 400 papers and 10 books, and in reviews have been called impressive, path-breaking, and profound. He received the Distinguished Alumnus Award from IIT, the Indian Institute of Technology at Bombay, in 2008. Professor Sethi has been named a Fellow of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, the Institute for Operations Research and Management, and the Royal Society of Canada. And that's a partial list, by the way. Professor Sethi is a fellow of the Production and Operations Management Society. He was among the founding members of POMS and served as president in 2012. So now it is my pleasure to present Professor Sethi with the Tepper School Alumni Achievement Award to recognize his significant and sustained contributions. Please join me.
I didn't think I'll ever make it to the Carnegie Hall, but here I am. Thank you, Laurie, Dean Demons, for the introduction and presentation of this award, by which I'm deeply humbled and grateful. For me, I think this, and this applies to all of us, there is nothing sweeter than a recognition from one's own alma mater, and I may add, from one's mother. So thank you once again. I would like to thank my wife, who is here with me, for her support over the years. We first met in 1987 at a conference in the Eiffel Tower. What a magical, romantic venue. And wrote a highly cited survey of manufacturing flexibility together during our courtship. Some romance. Of course, the paper took a long time to write, but I can't complain, because that time resulted in our marriage, as well as the birth of our another joint product, our daughter Chantal, duly mentioned in the concluding footnote of the paper. She actually almost made the co-authorship, Sethi, and Sethi, but somehow in those days, the plates were already made before we had the idea that we should join the third co-author, but that didn't happen. And it took about as long for our second daughter, Anjali, to arrive 3 years later. as Lori mentioned, I first came to GSI in 1969, and I finished my thesis in 1971 and went on to Stanford under the tutelage of George Danzig of the linear programming fame. And subsequently, I taught at Rice University, University of Toronto, and University of Texas at Dallas. And I had a short visiting stint in GSI in 1978. GSI, the former Tepper School. At Toronto and UT Dallas, I founded the Ph.D. programs in operations management, deriving very much from what I learned here at GSI. My sojourn at GSI was one of the most exciting times of my life. I learned analytical tools and did my thesis research in operations, finance, marketing, economics, and control theory, under the supervision of the late Jerry Thompson, as well as Tim McGuire of economics, and Chuck Newman of electrical engineering. I kept a lot of people busy here. That thesis formed the basis of now classic Sethi Thompson book on optimal control theory and applications to management science and economics. And Egan Ballas, whom I learned integer programming from, has been, and was always an inspiration. In addition to research, I learned how to teach a little bit. I taught a household finance course to a bunch of undergraduate girls at the Margaret Morrison Carnegie School of Women, who all insisted that I teach them managerial finance. Instead, clearly, these girls were way ahead of the time, way ahead of the college curriculum design. And it was no surprise that the same school, which opened its door in 1906 to the beautiful building next to GSIA, closed soon afterwards in 1973, not because I taught there, but because the realization that the girls were right about the archaic curriculum fashioned in an earlier era. They included sewing and cookery and personal hygiene and all that. At GSIA, I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to interact with future Nobel laureates, such as Herbert Simon, Bob Lucas, Ed Prescott, and Finn Kitteland, who incidentally was my classmate, but he wrote a thesis in economics. It was a heady time at a trailblazing school that pioneered the analytical approach to management, in the sharp contrast to the traditional case studies approach that was popular then at Harvard and other business schools. As we now know, that geeky approach, now followed by many schools, turned out to be prophetic. Just last month, The Economist had an issue titled The Empire of the Geeks, in which it praised the geeks' disruptive creativity, leading to many wealth-producing innovations of our time. But beware, it also warned against their insularity and elitism. While I don't have the time to go into the details, I highly recommend that you read that issue. Here in the stimulating Ivy halls of the Tepper School, you will learn analytical tools and techniques for managing business, and this bag of magic tricks will stay with you for the rest of your life and serve you well in the adapting to the ever-changing business environment. It is my sincere belief that when you leave here with all that you have learned, you will be much better prepared to enjoy a successful career, and I wish you the best in all of your future endeavors. Thank you again.